getting a well-deserved trip to Vegas after his great career. I mean, just how much of an all-star has he been off the ice for you guys, especially the last 2 years with everything that's going on with the pandemic?
Well, no one's more deserving of going to the All-Star game more than Stu, in my opinion, with everything that they've had to deal with. His staff and himself, being the point man, has had to deal with respect to this pandemic, and he does it gracefully, and so we're thrilled for him that he has an opportunity to participate in the All-Star game. It's a great reward for him. From my perspective, there's no one more deserving.
Mike, when you played in the league, it was probably right around the peak of player size in terms of height and weight, and since then it's kind of trended back down the size spectrum. I would love to get your thoughts on that trend and maybe how it relates to a guy like Jake. Not to say that Jake wouldn't have been able to thrive in another era because guys his size did, but it seems like he's coming to the league at a perfect time for the way he likes to play.
Well, I think just the way the game has evolved, I think that has had an influence on the types of players that thrive in that environment. With some of the rule changes that have, that the league has instituted, just with respect to some of the, some of the interference and the tactics that players used in past generations to defend against smaller players or skilled players. A lot of those tactics have been taken away through some of the rule changes. So it's almost it's placed more of an emphasis on defensemen with mobility, for example, because of some of the rule changes that the league has instituted. I think the other aspect for me that has been so prevalent in our game is just the speed of the game, and so I think I think the speed of the game has lended to smaller players that are quick and elusive, that may not have been in the best position to thrive in prior generations that thrive in today's game. So it's probably a combination of a number of different things. With respect to Jake, I think Jake's game is a game he could play in any generation. Just because of the type of player that he is. He's competitive, his hockey sense is off the charts, and he's brave. And so I think Jake's game would translate into any generation with the type of player that he is.
Mike, given the number of big games between you and the Capitals over the last 5, 10, 15 years and your familiarity with Laviolette, are there any surprises at this point?
I don't think so. With technology and how coaching staffs prepare and we watch each other so much. There's not a lot of surprises in the league. I think Lavi's a real good coach. He's been a real good coach in this league for a long time. His teams are always very well coached with structure, and I'm sure they're as familiar with us as we are with them. We have a lot of respect for the Capitals and their players themselves. They have a real good team and has been one of the better teams in the league for a long time, as has been the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think playing in the same division and the amount of times that we played against each other, I think it heightens the rivalry, but it also elevates the respect. I think, and I believe that there's mutual respect on both sides. But that's what makes these games so much fun to be a part of.
Mike, you had 2 defensemen who didn't skate yesterday or today. Do you expect them to both be available tonight? And I have a second question here.
So Chad Rueda will not play tonight. He is in the COVID protocol. And Dumo is dealing with some bumps and bruises. He'll be a game time decision.
And during your 30 years or so in this league, goal scorers you've played against and coached against, what makes Ovechkin stand out, and is there any one particular talent that he has that makes him so lethal?
It's a good question. I just think he's he's one of the greatest goal scorers of all time. Not just his generation. the velocity of his shot, the accuracy of his shot, his ability to get to the spots that he needs to get to avail himself, to unleash his shot, I think has allowed him to, to score the amount of goals that he scored. But he's obviously a generational talent and one of the best goal scorers of all time. He's a guy that you have to pay attention to when he's on the ice, because he doesn't need a whole lot of room to get a shot off, and certainly he's a threat on most times when he's out there. So obviously we have so much respect for the career that he's had, how good of a player he is. This game, I think Washington against Pittsburgh is always an exciting game for not only all of us that have the privilege to participate in it actively, but even just hockey fans in general, with some of the generational talents that are involved with Sid and Gino and Tanger on our side, and Washington has players like Ovechkin and Backstrom and John Carlson, for example, on the other side. It really, I think, is one of those rivalries that's been one of the premier rivalries in the game, and I think these generational talents are a big reason why.